Good morning. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered here on the traditional territory of the signatories to Treaty 7 and acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who share a deep connection and history with this land. Next week, the UCP will present their budget to Albertans. It's a budget that will increase spending while the UCP try to use the surplus generated by high oil prices they had nothing to do with to buy back votes and paper over mistakes of the past. The UCP has spent the last 4 years cutting programs and increasing costs on Alberta families. They've cut funding to healthcare, to economic diversification, while increasing taxes, fees, and tuition, and allowing utilities and car insurance to skyrocket. Meanwhile, they've spent millions on a failed war room that's an international embarrassment, gambled $1.3 billion on Trump's re-election, and given billions away to profitable corporations with no jobs in return. The cost of living is the highest it's been in 40 years. Yet, under their plan, Alberta has the slowest wage growth in the country. There are fewer businesses open today than when the UCP took office, even as Ontario, BC, and Quebec have seen growth post-pandemic. Capital investment is down under the UCP, while other provinces experience double-digit growth. Alberta's unemployment rate is higher than the national average and the highest outside of the Maritimes. Meanwhile, the UCP have done generational damage to the services that Albertans rely on. The healthcare budget is $1.7 billion short of where it would have been if they had simply tracked inflation and population growth. The UCP's war on doctors, especially family doctors, has left tens of thousands without a family doctor, impacting the health of Albertans and driving people into the acute care system where it costs more to treat them. They underspent the education budget by $1 billion over 2 years. This means kids crammed into classrooms, more illness, and parents left struggling to pick up the slack for a government that just doesn't care. They de-indexed seniors' benefits, the child tax benefit, and AISH, claiming it was fiscal management, but really it just hurt Albertans. They even changed the AISH payment dates to push back payments into the next fiscal year and fake a better bottom line, causing pain and stress to the Albertans that could least afford it. Their last budget included $200 million in additional income taxes and nearly $900 million in taxes on additional car insurance premiums. They announced a fake natural gas rebate that has never been triggered in 12 months. The UCP handed billions to the Walmarts of the world with no proof of job creation, but insisted that Albertans take less health care, bigger class sizes. They foisted higher tuition on them, increased student debt, and cut supports to programs like legal aid. They wasted $1.3 billion betting on Donald Trump's re-election, millions on an embarrassing war room that only succeeded in popularizing a Bigfoot cartoon, and they handed hundreds of thousands in sole source contracts to friends and donors. This is not a fiscal record to be proud of. This is a fiscal train wreck. One that will only get worse under this premier who continues to focus on fringe extremists who put her in power at the expense of Albertans. Smith and the UCP are charging ahead with plans to hand $20 billion to oil companies to clean up wells they are already legally obligated to clean up at a time of record profits. A plan she lobbied for, a plan supported by those who put her in power, but rejected by experts. A plan that gives away royalties that belong to Albertans to reward her supporters. The UCP continued to move forward with the plan to pull Alberta out of the Canada Pension Plan, despite lack of support, risking the retirement savings of Alberta workers while potentially hitting taxpayers with more costs. Despite prolonged public objection, Smith and her UCP still plan to get rid of the RCMP and create a new provincial police force, to the tune of $366 million in startup costs and up to $735 million a year for no additional service, and Albertans will pay it on their property taxes. Smith is even considering starting her own revenue agency, a plan that may cost up to $500 million as the province hires its own tax collectors, up to 5,000 of them. Danielle Smith has said she wants to make Albertans get used to paying for health care. And this budget may well be the first steps towards making people pay out of pocket to see their family doctor, an idea she has stated publicly and never repudiated. Albertans will have a surplus that's due to high energy prices. Those funds belong to Albertans, and they should be invested in the future of the people of this province. But instead, Smith will use them to buy back votes. But there is hope, because in just a few months, Albertans will get to choose. Choose who they trust to look after their interests. Choose the leader they believe will focus on them. Choose a government focused on people, not a small minority with fringe ideas. You can count on Rachel Notley to support families by funding healthcare and education every year, not just in an election year. Alberta's NDP will protect your family budget, protect your pension, and not waste hundreds of millions on its own police force. Rachel Notley will never make you pay to see a family doctor. And we have a plan to make sure another 1 million Albertans have access to a family doctor within 48 hours through family health teams. Rachel Notley will put families first, lowering costs and freezing expenses that hurt them most. An NDP government will invest in creating more resilient jobs economy with more good-paying industrial jobs in oil and gas, renewable energy, technology, and emerging industries. So next week, remember, you do have a choice. The UCP has lied to you before, and they will lie to you again. They cannot be trusted to fix or protect public health care. They cannot be trusted on curriculum or education, and they cannot be trusted to focus on what matters to you. But Rachel Notley can. Thank you, and I'd be pleased to take your questions.
Okay, we'll start with questions in person, then go to the lines.
Will the NDP be releasing some sort of shadow budget, to give voters an idea of what this party would have done with this surplus?
I think we've said a few things around that. Obviously, we're still waiting on a report that we have commissioned on this, and I think you'll see parts of a plan. So we have already rolled out family health care teams that are intended to give Albertans access to a family doctor. We've committed to funding enrollment growth in education. And we've rolled out our competitiveness, jobs, and investment strategy, which sort of shows how we would be investing some of this money into the future. So it may not come out all together like that, but I think we are presenting a clear plan to Albertans in terms of what our different priorities would be.
Go to questions on the line. Just a reminder, if you're joining by Zoom, to use the raise hand function. And seeing none, that's all for today.
Thank you.
So much for watching, and to learn more, check out albertasfuture.ca.